All right, welcome everybody. Let's get it started. The first presentation in the Enterprise Quality Engineering track. We will do this in English, but if I look around, I think most people are Dutch speaking. Is that right? English speaking? That's fine. We will do it in English. We will do it in English anyway. But if you got a question, it's okay to ask it in Dutch as well. Totally fine, because all the presenters are Dutch speaking. Some with an English background, German background, but we will manage to do it in order. The Enterprise Quality Engineering track, we created this one together with our partner and sponsor Tricentis in cooperation with SAP as well. It's all about quality, speed quality in SAP environments. We got three presentations today. The first one, and I will introduce them a little bit later, is from Tricentis and SAP. The second one is from Society. We will tell more about our SAP Business Assurance Report and a case we did at a big car company in Sweden. And the third one is about a local client, Doc Morris, a German apotheker, who decided to speed up their testing process in our SAP environment together with Tosca. So really interesting from vision to how it's happening in daily life. A few rules. If you got a question, the first presentation, it's okay to raise your hand, just ask the question, or you can save it till the end. Good to tell, there is a little break after the first presentation and the second one, but very short, only 10 minutes. So use your time wisely and go to the next place you want to visit or stay in this room, then you're totally fine. After the second presentation, there was a break of, I believe, 20 minutes. But let's start with the first one. The first one, it's about de-risk your SAP transformations. It's hosted by Ronald and Ronald. Very easy, just one name to remember. They will introduce themselves a little bit longer after this presentation. So, Ronald, it's up to you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, my name is Ronald Hoenink. You can also call us the Ronnies. Maybe is that we are both like to. I like to sing, and he likes to play the drums. So maybe we could start a band called the Ronnies or something. Yeah, welcome to this presentation. I'm Ronald Hoenink. I lead the business technology platform team in SAP the Netherlands. Happy to be here. Happy that Society and Tricentis invited SAP to present what we do with Tricentis, how important Tricentis is for SAP, and to support our accounts in de-risking and accelerating transformations in the SAP environments. So what we do with BTP, so Business Technology Platform, that's how we call it. That's the platform needed to run SAP applications. And what we do is to accelerate transformations to an intelligent enterprise. So especially also in the prep phase of big transformations with SAP, but in the environments our accounts are working in, it's not only SAP. It's a full hybrid landscape in many occasions. So it's not only SAP, but also many other end-to-end solutions to make it an end-to-end environment. So in preparation of all kinds of big SAP transformations, Tricentis plays an important role. But it's not only Tricentis in Business Technology Platform, but to clean data, for example, but then also to test data, to do continuous process automation, to build extensions with low code, for example. That's all part of the BTP portfolio we are doing in SAP. So BTP brings value to our customers. And we do that by accelerating the move to cloud. So SAP exists over 50 years already. So we are a real old company. Started in 1972. So we are, our background is fully on-prem. So we are from an on-prem environment, and we moved to become a full cloud company. But we don't have one cloud application where we have exceptional many applications. That's 1, 2, 4. So we have a lot of applications we are running in the cloud. And testing is really important step to get that move to the cloud accelerated. So that's what we're doing, and our standard there is Tricentis. So we are not having our own testing application. We choose Tricentis as the market leader, and we incorporated that in our applications. So what we see in the market is that since we have the partnership with Tricentis, that many accounts choose Tricentis via SAP to use that in their transformations. So not only for SAP, but also end-to-end. So an example, Achmeya is here in the room. They choose Tricentis to be the end-to-end testing platform, not only for SAP, but for all their applications. For example, Jumbo, you see there on the left, right to the left top corner. They choose Tricentis to use that in their S4 transformation, as we call it. And even after 3 months using it, they already had 46% less problems in their production environments. So many accounts are choosing Tricentis in their SAP S4 transformations. Not only the accounts are doing that, but also partners like Society, but also other SIs choose more and more Tricentis to use that in their implementations. What we also did at SAP, so Tricentis is what we call a SOLEX, so a solution extension. So that means it's not an SAP solution, because we don't have this solution in-house, but we have a partnership with Tricentis, so it is an extension of our own solutions, but we incorporated it fully in the services and in the solutions we have. So for example, we have it included in our Activate approach. So that's the way we implement what we have as a best practice, and what we would like to see that SIs are using that too. We call it Activate. And what is really important there is that we are really pushing to get testing to be that in front. So as one of the first steps in your Activate approach. So it's really important to start testing as soon as possible to have a clear strategy around that. So with Activate, we support our accounts to find, well, where is the risk? Does it work? Does it scale? Is the data correct? And are we ready to go live? This is what we sell. So we are a software company, so we sell Tricentis. We sell SAP Enterprise Continuous Testing. Maybe you know it also as Tosca, but it's more than Tosca. So there's OSV, there is execution only in it also. So that's needed to find out, does it work? What to test? So we have SAP Change Impact Analysis. So for the full SAP application, you can find out, okay, what is the impact when we for example, go for an upgrade? Does it perform? So for that we have a SAP Enterprise Performance Testing, and is the data correct? We have SAP Enterprise Data Integrity Testing. Yeah, so with that, you can do the full cycle of testing, yeah, supported by SAP. So maybe Ronald, you can take over.
So, thank you for Society inviting us, and thank you, Ronald, for this great partnership we have. My position at Tricentis is globally responsible for the SAP relationship and all GSIs. And I can say with Society, I started 2 years ago, and with Stefan, who will speak after me, they did a research with our founder, Wolfgang Platz, which was called Business Assurance. And I think that really hit the nail on the head to talk about what does testing mean, because testing in itself can be also dangerous, because testing for the sake of testing might not be the best thing to do. And sometimes we've seen these projects where that might have occurred. And one thing what is very clear in the relationship with SAP, but also looking at companies, is that the constant right now is that there's change. So if we look at utilities, we know that we have solar panels on the roof maybe, that the bill is not only one directional anymore, we can also sell electricity. So that means the bill has to change. That means that the old ISU billing has to change. And there's, I think, 90% market share of SAP in utilities, so around 5,600 utilities in the world still have the old ISU billing systems. And it's fascinating because their changes are very big, and they need to be applied now because of customer satisfaction. The same goes for consumer goods or retail. Those will have different kind of elements. But the key is that top management, the companies, they want to have faster business model, agile to markets, modernized without risk. So if I spend all this money, you know, there's companies spending $1 billion over the next 6 years to go from 45 ECC to 1 instance on the cloud. And if I was the CEO, I wanted to make sure that we're not going to go over time, out of budget, because that would be an amount of money which would be at the board level. So very much is the way to look at this, can we de-risk these kind of projects? And we were excited when 2 years ago SAP looked at the successor for Micro Focus, looking at the new landscapes. And this program is quite an interesting one. I've kind of Googled it, but there's more people who landed on the moon than who got a SOLEX status. And the reason being is that, first of all, is what Ronald said, it needs to be a wide space. So if it's something mission critical to SAP, there will be no reason to be in that space. So if there's a wide space like RPA, then SAP would look at partners for RPA. And if there's a wide space for quality assurance, they looked at the product which would de-risk these projects, which we just mentioned. And that means that you also do product development. Like we have integrated now with Cloud ALM. We're sitting with the product managers in Waldorf, making sure that our products, because they're treated as SAP products, also get tested as SAP products. And SAP treats these as SAP products because they sell it on their paper. So this is why that's such a special program, and it's quite unique in the world. But the key is, what's the business outcome? And this particular example was a friend of mine run SAP Utilities, Stefan Enghardt, and I said, oh, I joined Tricentis, and he said, oh, but that's just a generic testing tool. So come back to me if you have a utilities message. And luckily for us, we did a project with Duke Energy 3 years ago. We started. And they went from 4 old ISU billing systems, which they got because they acquired other utilities. And they're running around $21 billion through their billing systems. So Jesse, who's the head of customer success, he decided to go with Tricentis and SAP. And by starting early with the automation, he went on stage in Munich last year in front of all these big utilities, which are still struggling to make this step. And he said, thanks to Tricentis, I was 7 months early in the delivery of my project. But by the way, I'm now running 21 billion through my new system on the cloud, and I can just change applications weekly if I want, can become more competitive, and I can go live without production mistakes, because I've set up the automation models and I'm proactive. But what was really striking me was that because he's now on the new environment and is more agile, their accuracy of billing has gone to 3% plus 3% gain. So that's 3% of $21 billion of momentum for him. And it's really a fascinating story. So what are these products which kind of deliver this type of outcome? So first of all, like I said, the testing should not be the end goal. The goal should be, first of all, to find what's changed. Because if you don't test what's changed, it's like those flight recorders of planes. It's like they find out later that a small screw somewhere could lead to a disaster. SAP is like a complex airplane. And you don't want to go to the owner of the plane when it's already in the air and they haven't tested the changes. So you want to make sure that before you start any, go live, you have made sure that you only tested the changes. Then you want to do the functional testing. And the functional testing needs to be end-to-end because it's not only SAP. The world could be a CRM of Salesforce. The world could be a PDF file, where there might be information about shipping coming from a different system than from the address of the customer, because it could be a business difference with a customer. There could be all kinds of things on that PDF which come out of different source systems. So if something changes in SAP, we need to know the effects so that the invoice is not wrong. So it's more than just SAP testing. And then the data is correct. That's kind of in the analytics area. And does it scale? That's an interesting part. Tricentis has kind of achieved something very interesting in the market. Normally, your load performance testing is kind of separate. But because this sequence is you find out what to test, you test, at the same time you can apply your performance testing, which is quite an efficiency gain. Now, this example was a utility, but this is an example of a best connected brewer who wanted to go from 45 ECC systems to one system instance on the cloud to really get a customer experience 360 view because they didn't have that information. So they're encountering in a large transformation project. And their landscape is complex because CRMs are different than SAP Core. But the key is, in this whole project, every time they start, like the Activate methodology, in every change, you make first sure you detect the change with change impact analysis, then the enterprise continuous testing, and you flow that every time you go through these cycles, and you can be on top of the game. And we normally see when you start testing in the explore phase, like in Activate, guaranteed that things are over budget and there's go live problems. So I think that's really what I think the key weapon in this relationship with SAP is that also the GSIs, they follow the Activate methodology. I think there's Captivate, there's all kind of names around it, but ultimately they're following the guidelines from SAP. And that means that if you make a change, you first want to find out the impact. So what has changed? And then you do your functional testing, and that's all integrated. And by doing that, we see that customers can reduce their risk by 84% because their testing scenarios get reduced by 84%. Because they're not testing everything, they're testing what matters. And then the performance testing is a continuous cycle. And this is really important because every time you make a change, you can go through this cycle, and that's what Duke Energy did. And that's why they're so confident when they go live, they can go live fast. This has been recognized by also Forrester and SAP. They have done a research. So the 84% reduction has been recognized in interviews with our customers. But also the acceleration, right? The 300% improvement in application release rates, which gave this Duke Energy this chance to go live much earlier and allocate budgets to other important projects. So this is the report which Stefan will mention after me. It's an interesting report because it kind of emphasizes the assurance for top management when they make these big investments of these big projects, that they can make sure that they have left no stone unturned to make it less risky to go live. We make sure in our enablement program, this is one which starts in October, with Live Compare, with all the products embedded in the SAP solution set, is that we have these monthly courses, making sure that our GSIs are equipped with the same knowledge as what we apply in these successful projects. Nothing can work only on the product. It's a symphony of 3 partnerships. Only the products alone would fail. So we need to also take into account people and process, which Society has done so well by being, enabled with Tricenters, but also making sure that when it gets implemented in these large organizations, there's the right philosophy, the right methodology, which they are much better at than Tricenters. So yeah, so here is, if you want to see a few of the success cases, this is HP. So HP, who had every testing product on the planet, 3 years ago decided to go with Tricenters. I think that helped us to get also the SAP partnership. And they also were 4 or 5 months on time. And it's a very interesting video to see this, how they implemented Live Compare and how that changed their implementation success. And the other one is the example of the utility company called Duke Energy. So, yeah, so I think Ronald and I can answer some questions. If they're Dutch, we speak Dutch, but we will maybe repeat it in English for the video. Yeah, so. Any questions? Stefan?
Okay, yeah. All right. So the question is, how does it relate Tricenters in the BTP portfolio, and how does it relate to the clean core? Yeah. So in many cases, we have a lot of what we call S4 transformations. So bringing ERP, ECC to S4, but also success factors implementations and many applications, of course. And many of them are end-to-end. So it's not only SAP, but also have to integrate with Salesforce or Workday or whatever. And in that space, we decided, we need testing software. To get that included, of course, we work with a clean core. In the past with ERP, it was possible to get to change your ERP system yourself. So there is a lot of customization in the ECC environments. And what we see now when we go to the cloud, we want to have a clean core so that we can upgrade as soon as possible, of course. So you have upgrade cycles of four times a year. So you need to do that very fast. And with that, you also need, of course, Tricenters to do the testing around that. So what is then in BTP? So BTP is more like a portfolio of products. So we have our own BTP products. So we have a product with all kinds of services in it to build extensions, for example. We have a big integration suite also for APIs. So that is what BTP is. So it's a big environment of all kinds of solutions needed in this platform. And Tricenters is part of that platform.
Ja,
graag.
Vanuit agility willen we testen zo ver mogelijk naar voren, shift left. Ja. En eigenlijk ook minder integratietesten, ketentesten uitvoeren als het niet nodig is. Welke oplossingsrichtingen heeft SAP om zoveel mogelijk modulair, kleinschalig, zowel in de cloud, met name in de cloud, dingen naar voren te schuiven, zodat je minder op een acceptatie of feedback hoeft te testen.
Ja. Ja, we hebben in de partnership met SAP ook met de cloud. Sorry, I have to repeat. So the question is on the shift left momentum. Is there a light approach, like light modular approach, in certain situations, especially around the cloud, to adopt, these smaller, lighter shift left adoptions? I think we worked for 2 years now on cloud ALM integration with a public cloud version of Tricentis. And we're seeing that that's kind of the approach where it's a lighter touch than the full end-to-end enterprise testing. So in those situations, there is a lighter footprint to do these do these testing cycles than the full-blown Tosca. So that's kind of what's coming, and that's going to be released at the end of the year. So that's what we developed with SAP as an anticipation on that type of environment. Yes. Yeah, well, in that case, if it's ABAP, then we would suggest the AI of live compare care to first detect the change, and then you only test that's what's changed. So you're not having a heavy footprint. So there, your testing scenario is kind of reduced, like what Forrester was seeing. Yes, that's especially for the ABAP environment to detect these changes. Yeah. And that's the AI-based solution, which is called the change impact analysis, which is different than Tosca. But as Tosca is integrated, so the moment you've done that, automatically the test scenarios can be derived. So it's totally integrated with live compare or what called change impact analysis by SAP. So that's maybe there is a course in October. I can send you. It's only a day, but it kind of highlights those. But it's for free, so it's self-learning. But maybe that's something to look at. Thank you. Yep.
For the testing, obviously you also need data. How do you go along with compliance requirements?
There is the product called data integrity, which kind of is a product which kind of checks the data. So if there's a lot of changes in like a data lake environment or like say sustainability reporting to the government, and changes have occurred in sort of the data sets or the data lakes, then you can very quickly validate. It parses like in seconds, was the data before the same as what we expect? And that's the data integrity check. And we see a lot of banks using that to add that to their arsenal of testing, making sure the data they report to authorities is compliant, or they trust the data they're reporting to. Or are you more referring to the TDMS, the data testing? Yeah, so that again in the data integrity would, like in the pharmaceutical industry, we have a product called Vera, which is integrated with Tosca and DI. And that kind of is used by all pharmas. It's like a market leader to do GDPR reporting. So that's kind of an example of how those combinations work. But they're kind of focused on, in this case, the pharma industry. And we have some examples in finance from the top of my head. Yeah. So if you want a different industry, I can kind of find out if that's appropriate. Yeah. I'll connect. Yeah. Thank you. Don't know what timing.
15 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Well, we can do a workshop. No, but is it something from your perspective? Are you from your company perspective or consulting perspective seeing the shift left momentum? Is that something you recognize? The picture Ronald showed, like Activate, because we've seen. Sometimes testing always takes place like in the explore phase, halfway. And then things really, people have go live problems. And is that something you recognize? Just trying. Does it make sense? Or?
The shift left, yes, that really makes sense. And that's what we've been working on in the past years to really start testing as soon as you start thinking of your change. Part of
Yeah.
It would be even better if you can do start your test automation there.
It's quite a discipline too, I guess, right? In the beginning to get. We've seen at Vodafone that they started with Live Compare 3 years ago, and some divisions picked it up, but some kind of had a lot of folks trained on Tosca from India, and they didn't do Live Compare, and they started making the same mistakes, and that got to a point that the top management said everybody is in trouble if they don't start with Live Compare, and now they've kind of got that discipline.
For a lot of people, it's really about changing the people, changing the way they work, and changing the mentality. If you tell
Yep.
them and somewhere stop telling them, then they fall back in old routines, and then we get people writing down requirements again. In the next iteration, somebody building the requirements, and in the next iteration testing it. You know, back to waterfall.
Yep.
That's not, and I mean, Tosca helps because it's low code. We can use it in all our environments, also the low code environments we have. And we can also use the tooling to make visible what you want to be built.
Yep. Yep. And it's interesting what Stefan said on the BTP platform, like the clean core. I visited Apple in the Valley, and they use Apple runs Apple Music on SAP Finance. So you can imagine the stress testing which takes place if they want to change that from the old to the new. But when BTP came out, what was fascinating, what they told me, is that the SAP environment was the SAP environment, but by starting to use the BTP platform, they started to build applications faster on the SAP security, the philosophy, and they became much more dependent on also the quality assurance because they were starting to build applications for their customers. And I think that's an interesting explanation why BTP, I think, is very mission critical, but then dips into other environments where Apple doesn't. They want to build their own application because they don't want to do that on the SAP platform. So I think it's a real good mix of best of breed, and that's where the changes take place. And when those changes take place, they are not anymore 2 times a year like with ECC. They can be weekly, like at Duke Energy. And I think if your framework is not set up with the shift left, you're very vulnerable to production go live and go wrong, with all kind of strange effects. Yep.
So when will there be Vision Pro integration?
Sorry?
When will there be Vision Pro integration?
Yeah. It's Apple is not an easy, but I was just fascinated by the amount of talent they have, right, to build their own apps, but that they were building the apps on the BTP platform. I thought that was a great sign of that SAP got the right direction there. Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't do that. They could build SAP themselves, right, if they wanted to, but that's not maybe the best idea. So sometimes, yeah, but sometimes you have to specialize what you're good at, and that's I thought was interesting. Yeah. No, so Ronald and I can be reached. Our details will be known right from the conference, and we're happy to answer any questions. It's an exciting journey. We're very excited about it, and there's a lot of change and a lot of projects. So really exciting time to be here. Yep, thank you.